Hi there. Welcome to Vicki Baird Coaching Live. Admittedly, just had a moment because I was like, I don't remember how to start this because it's been so long and they have definitely changed some buttons around. But that's the exciting part, I think, of doing these things. Thank you for those who are showing up. Is that it asks of us to be like, are you sure you're ready? I just finished a client session, fed the animals, and so they could be quiet during this. We hope. Listen, we hope, but we don't know for sure if that's going to happen. I hope your fun ones will also join us. If in fact they show up, if you want to let me know that they're present, all energies are welcome. The idea of this for me was to create this interactive experience because so much of our online life is scrolling or passive, and I want there to be interactive. And I have the membership stuff, I have the groups and everything, but i'm a I'm a tactile person. Like, I like to connect with people specifically, and I thought, you know what, let's pick YouTube, let's get on there and have some fun. And in the meantime, while I'm doing this and waiting for people to catch on and to show up with their questions and everything, I thought I would answer a few questions that I would have. And I know I do when I come across somebody's stream and I'm like, oh, who are these people? And, I'm intrigued by their energy and what they're bringing, but what you got going on there? Hello, Amy. Nice to see you. Thanks for showing up. And I'm so grateful to people like Amy, who I have known for, wow, we're not going to do the math just yet, Amy, but well over a decade, and had the privilege, actually longer than that, because kickball is where I first met you. And your beautiful child just graduated. So it's been a little bit longer. So my idea was to create this event first, and then I will be here, give or take, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for any questions you have. Maybe you're going through something in your life and you'd like a little bit of guidance on that, or questions about products I have, the podcast. There's always going to be, let me start with who I am. So I am Vicki Baird, and I have been an intuitive full time for almost 23 years now, certified in coaching and some neural pathway work, and absolutely know that this is the best gig for me. And I am embarking always on my spiritual journey, on my understanding who I am. And I learn so much through my clients and through the interactions that I know support groups help. And I know that we can be of more support to each other. So I've been feeling a little isolated in my world, and I thought, I'm just going to get out there and introduce myself and create this community again. So as an intuitive, I have spent quite a lot of my time in the energy worlds and in perceiving energy. I feel like, and I know I'm someone who's very grounded in my intuitive work, and I know everyone is intuitive. So it's been my mission. Sometimes when people don't even want me to talk about it, it's been my mission to help people uh, connect with their intuition, to understand their own wiring, and for you to recognize that this is your soul that we're talking about. That's where your intuition comes from, and that there's a huge benefit from learning about yourself. And yes, some of this will involve the mm, trauma work, if there is any there. Show me a human who hasn't experienced something there. This will involve understanding your subconscious. It will involve understanding relationships and how you relate to people. And it will involve fun, because I do not get why we would do anything and not seek to have the fun that the soul has. So I got into this work like most accidentally. I didn't know what the word intuition meant. I didn't believe in psychics. I didn't believe in, like, when you pass, um, there's more and we go on to experience more. I didn't believe in all that. I had no training as a kid, no teaching, which I began to be grateful for in time. But initially, it definitely had me a little lost. And then, fast forward a little bit, a few years, my mom passes. And I firmly believe, I was 29, that when she passed, she smacked me on the back of the head and said, "Go ahead and do that thing you did as a kid, Vic." Because in retrospect, and then asking some of my siblings about it, because a lot of them are quite a few years older than I am and would have more of an awareness of who I was and how I was as a younger being, and asking them, like, was I a weird kid? Like, did I know things that I shouldn't have known? And, the feedback was yes, that you were just very good at solving problems, that you knew things we didn't tell you. And yes, I was a tattletale at one point, because I thought everybody knew it and I thought people just weren't talking about it. And that annoyed me. So, once I started to delve into more of this, what is intuition? And like, what does it mean to have more than your five senses? So, my podcast originally was Intuition, Your First Sense, because I firmly believe that it's our first sense that everyone comes in with. I mean, why else would you show up naked with no teeth and unable to support yourself if there wasn't a trust somewhere that there was a support system to all of this? And I know that is hard to find at times. And I know that it can be difficult to hang on to. I am not someone who sugarcoats, or who makes things woo-wooey. I believe in the woo-woo. But that's just not my personality. So that's not what this channel will be about. So as I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on, and I'm sharing this because I think it's important for you to maybe learn who I am, but it will validate some of your own experiences, because I started to learn just why I got upset when other people were upset, or why I couldn't be in a room. I can now. I believe that when we balance our energy and we understand it, we can go anywhere. You might not want to stay, but you can go anywhere. And I had to learn how to work with this empathy. And a lot of people right now are busting open and they're becoming more and more aware of their own intuitive abilities and how it might help them to tap into it. More companies are doing this. It's so exciting. So, as I started to ask these questions, I'm also raising three kids, married, working a couple jobs, and volunteering, because slow your roll is not really something that I knew right away. I have learned that and learned to appreciate it. So I was working at a company, and you know how, like, when you're working with a bunch of people that you really like and you'll share what you did on the weekend. And that's what I would do. I was like, oh, I'm learning about all this stuff and I don't know if I believe in it. It seems a little too out there for my very analytical, spreadsheet loving, give me an AR, healthcare AR, and I'll clean it up for you. So as I'm going through this, they reflected back to me how I would often share with them that I knew things before they knew it and before the boss would tell them. And I didn't have his ear. I didn't know all this stuff. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I thought it was all common sense. So then moved on to another company, and in that company ended up advising and working very closely uh, in this capacity of, this is what feels like's going on. I still think I'm just helping. I just think this is what you do when you're a human. You help. And then it started to get out that I was learning about oracle card readings, and I was using the oracle cards, and then started to do some readings, night times, weekend, that kind of thing, just for play, just for fun. And then the feedback was she's pretty spot on. And then as I started doing more of the readings, I forgot to turn the cards over. And then at one point, I was like, the heck with these cards. They're heavy. I don't want to carry them everywhere. So, thus becomes my path as an intuitive, still working full time for quite a few years, until one day, spirit pushed me. And I was talking to my immediate supervisor and just said, I, I, you should know I'm not going to be here for much longer. Now, at this point, I am primary income because my late husband was not the best at holding down employment or staying with a place. He was a good employee, but he didn't like to stay anywhere. Um, and I never knew if we'd have health care or finances, all that kind of stuff. So for me to say that, and between you and I and everybody else, it was the only thing my supervisor ever moved on. So immediately there was a plan, because I was a pain in the ass to him. I was someone who questioned the way things were being done, and was it fair to the other employees and all of that. So yeah, that's always been my wiring. So then I go to doing this full time, clients all over the world, having a blast, still having a blast. And then my late husband and I opened up a center, a metaphysical center with a store and places for other people to come in and teach. And then he got very ill. And then I soon realized I couldn't do that on top of everything else. We released the store, and he passed a little bit after that. We had a little bit of time. And it was in his passing that I realized that, as an intuitive and as an empathic person, and I wonder if you will resonate with this, sometimes we just add more and more and more and more onto us, and we don't even realize it until we're on the ground in a fetal position and bawling. And that's what it took for me to start shifting some of this all service of all people to, what is the work I would like to do. Because at this time I was pretty well known for my mediumship work, and my late husband had a great sense of humor. So as he's passing and on hospice, I had actually said to him, can I use this? Can I use your passing to be out of the mediumship work? And he said to me, I would be a GD fool not to. And it wasn't that I didn't love the healing, and I loved connecting to those who had crossed. I learned so much about appreciating being human and embracing this experience that we get to have with our soul and our physical self from those who have crossed, not from the mentors here or anything like that, but from those who have crossed coming through, saying to me, stop worrying about us. We are good to go. Yes, we're still part of your life. And yes, we see you. And this means for everybody, not just for me. But get on with yourselves. And I thought, wow, my commitment is not only to myself, it's to those who have crossed. I always felt that in getting their messages across. And I decided, if this is my feeling of uh, not really being invested or loving the work anymore, then I shouldn't be doing the work. Well, fast forward, you can probably already figure this out. My husband passes. I was 46 at the time, and that hurt. We were together 27 years. We were actually married 25 years and 2 days when he passed. And I firmly believe he dug deep and hung around to reach that 25-year mark. And I appreciated that. Um, but it was too hard to be there for others in their messaging and their grief and try to process my grief. So we fast forward and we get to, I had already been certified in coaching. And then I learned some I had already actually been certified in the neural pathway work, but hadn't really implemented it. And I shifted my business at that point to those who really want to do the work. So I have set an intention that if you're watching this channel, you are a beautiful reflection of the soul that you are. For the record, I am not in mirror. Am I in mirror mode? This lettering is in reverse from a beautiful company called All Soul, ALSOUL. And I picked it purposely because I believe we are all a beautiful reflection of our soul. And I want to help as many people as possible to connect and realize this is not for somebody special. Well, it is because you're special, but it's not anything special that you can't do it. You can't know your soul so intimately that you also know who to be in relationship with, what job to take, what investments to make, where you should travel, what is your unique gift and ability. And that's what the soul gives us. And I want to help as many people learn that, right? And to feel that self surety that comes along with knowing who you are, and life is still going to happen. There is no amount of spiritual enlightenment that was going to keep my late husband here, nor the dog that passed shortly after him, nor the friends that exited stage left because they couldn't handle the fact that I was actually going through something and couldn't completely be there for them. Which, Amy, back to your comment, where I can totally relate to that, where we just pile on and pile on and pile on, and sometimes don't even realize that we've put so much on that we don't feel anymore. And this has been, I don't know how many years. It'll be 8 years this year since Howard passed. And I'm in a wonderful relationship for the last 4 years. And the grief is just starting to come up some more. And I thought, let's do this. Let's be vulnerable together. Like, let's understand with all the tools that I have for 23 years, but all the realness. I don't know about you, but I want to see realness in the people that I follow and that I subscribe to. And that's what I want to create here. So, one of the things you can do, and Amy's heard this before, but I'm going to say it for you too, is when you realize that you've put all of these layers on, don't make a hard and fast shift. Okay. Don't decide, I'm not going to care about people. I'm not going to open up my heart and everything. I'm going to peel one layer off at a time, just one layer. And that layer may change from day to day. On one day, it might be you just have no alignment with the news, like you can't listen to it at all. That's fine. So if you're experiencing, like Amy, going between numb and feeling everything, it's actually your job and your responsibility to pause in the middle. And that means having some accountability to practice some tools, to use some tools. So, most especially, I love surrounding myself in white light. I will ask for Archangel Michael to surround me. I will meditate, ground, whatever works. And at that moment, it might be that I have to eat. I haven't eaten that day, and you just need to get some protein in. So if you're vacillating between being completely numb and feeling everything, it, your doorway to letting energy in is on the fritz. So it really does, not to sound too fundamental, but it comes down to stopping, just stopping and taking a breath and saying, I'm going to ride in the middle for right now. And what do I choose to feel about? Maybe I choose to feel about dinner. Maybe I don't want to feel what everybody else is feeling. It's not good to feel what everybody else is feeling. There is a misteaching and a misconception that if you're empathetic, that you have to feel everything that's going on. I think that's counterintuitive. If you are too wide open, you will not be able to regulate. And that's some of what's going on. And to breathe, yes. Come back to your breath. Yes. I know. This stuff is not that hard. It's just hard to remember. So you have to build the neural pathways so that you can show up for yourself. All of this is about showing up for yourself. And it's all about recognizing that you matter and that you are worthy of showing up and that your soul chose you to come in to figure this stuff out, because it can be easy to go to victim mode when you're empathic. Like I've had people tell me for years, different people, well, I just can't go to a party because I'm too empathic. No, you choose not to develop the skills that allow you to interact with people. Now, if you want to be truthful and say, I don't want to be around people, I would much rather hear that than and believe you, then I'm too empathic. I can't be part of this. Now, this is not a blame game I'm doing here. I'm just saying there's hope. There is hope because I understand that. I understand feeling like I'm going to crawl right out of my skin because the field is too open. So there are tons of episodes of my podcast that you can go get, that you speak to this. And there's a lot of beautiful teachers in the world that also speak to this. But this is what I'd like to encourage here is the dialogue of, I may not want to do it, but I'm here to do it. I may not know how to do it, but I'm here to do it. I don't even know what it is. When you are connecting and you take responsibility for your frequency and your energy, it gets exciting. Like you get thrilled about what are the possibilities and what can I learn and where can I go in this world and how can I help? And if, to Amy's point, feeling my feelings is so freaking hard right now, that's true for a lot of people. We came out of a pandemic with no processing, no processing. We are in a heightened state of energy, and that's pushing our little intuitive and energetic buttons too. So it's easier to avoid, it's easier to stuff the feelings with any number of substances. I'm not going to name any of them, but any number of substances. It's easy to numb out. What's empowering and what's a gift to yourself and to your soul is to say, I recognize right now I am numbing out, and I get to make a choice about whether I want to continue numbing out or whether I'd like to get back in my body and engage in this world. And when the feelings are too big, it's not going to help to stuff them. Because, like anything else, if you're stuffing something, it's eventually going to explode. Like, if you ever tried to put too much in a Ziploc bag, it's just going to come out. And that's true of our emotional centers. So, pressure release valve. Where's your pressure release valve? I will always highly recommend the slam balls that they have at the gym with the sand in them. If you need to release some pressure, you can pick up a 8 pounder. Like we're not, you don't go to the big ones. Don't throw your back out. But you slam those puppies on the ground, energy will bust off of your body and in your and out of your energy field, and you'll have a release. Besides, you'll get the endorphins going, and then you get some pretty good guns. That's not what this show is about. So right now, the process that a lot of people are going through is what I went through in trying to understand how I was wired and what was going on and how come I could feel everybody else's stuff and who are all these dead people at the grocery store. Holy mackerel. You all take your people grocery shopping with you. Think about that next time you go grocery shopping. It's so crowded. And all of this stuff is happening. And then, admittedly, I have seen some people giving some really bad advice. And I'm like, well, Vicki, you cannot complain about it if you're not willing to jump in the ring and say, take what resonates, throw out the rest. But here's some grounded approaches to being a physical being. Being a human is a gift. It is a gift that we give ourselves. Your soul chooses to come into the physical body you have right now. That is a gift. And yes, even on the days where it's not cooperating and it's giving you some hiccups, it's still a gift to be here. So if you have a hard time, Amy, I'm going to give you a little challenge here. If you have a hard time with where your feelings are right now, think about your future self. How can you be kind to your future self? You don't have to put a timeline on this. You do not have to say my future self tomorrow, my future self in 6 months, my future self in a year. Don't worry about that. I want to right now be kind to my future self. And then choose the action. You must have action. If you're afraid of your feelings or you're stuck in energy, if you don't act, you will send that energy discord higher. Watch, YouTube is going to freeze on that face. You just watch. It happens all the time. So it's a combination of recognizing, and I call this success compass coaching because that's what I do, guide you to your success through the compass coaching model. The north is your soul. Okay. The south is your physical self. Just this is going to be a very brief overview. We'll do another Q&A on it later. The west is your wiring or from whence you've come, including past lives. And the east is where you're heading and the action steps and the elevating and the energizing that can happen through that. And I understand that the common vernacular is to say due north is where you're heading. It just does not resonate for me. So always been a little bit of a work outside the box. I'm going to completely live outside the box. So when you think about this and your soul and your energy field coming in from the north, you need your physical self to be solid, to be firmly grounded in order to connect with your intuitive self, in order to have conversation with guides and angels and ascended masters and the matrix and all that kind of stuff, right? But you also need to understand what got you to where you are. Like if you're afraid to feel your feelings, likely there's some experience in the background. Most of us will go to childhood where that just wasn't allowed. And that's what's happening. You're having a reaction. So then you look at that and you say, all right, you seem to be having a reaction here. What is the action I can take? I want to go to the east. So, Amy, this is something you can do when you feel like you're numb or you're too wide open, or everybody this will apply to. Ask, what point of my compass do I need? Do I need the north? Do I need the south? Do I need the west? Do I need the east? And just pick one. Do not do all of them. And when you're doing that, you get to feel empowered. You get to feel like everything that's going on around you is not in charge. Like you get to choose who you are, and how you will engage with the world, right? So you become less of a victim of energy and feelings, and you become more of an explorer of that. And there'll be more on this later. So, um, whatever we're experiencing is part of our experience. Part of my plan, Amy's going to send us in all kinds of directions. I really appreciate you, Amy. I do not believe, and I know for my shorty, maybe it's not everybody's, that we are actually here with a plan. Oh, yeah. We aren't. There is an intention that your soul chose coming into this lifetime to learn. Everybody has a different one. We all have a different blueprint. Okay. So every one of us here is actually on a path to learn to appreciate and accept ourselves wholly, like holy, not holy, but holy. And that's why we're here. There is no grand plan. There's nothing that has been set up for you to experience in each, data point or timeline. There is opportunity. There is an accumulation of the skill sets that you bring forth from previous lives into this one, and then whatever you've garnered while you're here. One of my tenets for myself is I want to learn as much as possible in this lifetime, because as much as I'm nosy and I know I'm going to want to come back, I also want to come back in more of the awareness and more of the fun and the appreciation that, while I don't believe everything is our lesson, we can learn from every experience. So there was no plan set up ahead of time for you to go through what's going on in your life right now. There is a plan for you. I don't want to use that phrasing because it's going to get confusing. There was no plan for you for this to happen. Like, yes, the people that we connect with, the people that we are in relationship with are somewhere in our soul groups, but there's new ones being introduced all the time. So that's too many variables if you think about it. Like, I believe the universe is amazing and capable of wonderful things, as are we. But come on, if everything was planned out, what would be the point of coming here? So while I don't think this was preordained, I do believe in we create our own process and we create our own lives, but we have to take into consideration that there are other players involved too. And that's some of the teaching of the law of attraction gets wrong, is that, well, if I just hoped enough, if I just kept my vibe up enough, it's going to work. Well, you don't know what's in the learning for someone else. You can presume you do, and you can think it's in your best, sorry, the other person's best interest to remain with you or to hire you, but you don't know all of the factors. And we're not meant to know all of the factors, because, again, that's robotic. That's not living. What you can do when a situation does not go the way you had hoped it would, or were really pulling for it, you can look at and ask yourself, did I do everything? Did I really do everything? And if that answer is yes, you got to have a good cry. You got to have a good fit. And then you got to come back to really respecting yourself, like really loving yourself for putting forth that effort. And then you have to toss up the idea of um, uh, everything having to go the way you think it should go, and trust that it can be in the best interest of someone else to do an experience that you don't want to see. Like, I didn't want my husband to croak, but the best thing I could do was to honor his process, um, and be there for him while feeling my way through it. It is going to be hard to trust that there's a right outcome because you've decided what the right outcome is. You may not know what the benefit of this is for decades. And that's freaking frustrating. And it's hard, especially when little ones are involved. But if you're going to honor somebody's soul, you honor the whole soul. And yes, I know there's system issues that happen and there's injustices. I'm not saying that we just go, oh, how lovely. This was something to learn from. No, bullshit. Ooh, can I say that? We're going to have to put the little expletive because they're likely to come out of my mouth. So if you're watching this and you have a sensitive nature about spirituality and stuff, and that's where words and stuff aren't used, it's been nice knowing you. So trusting in and honoring, you might not be able to get to trust when a situation is so difficult. That's too big of a jump. Go to honoring the other person's soul, honoring yourself, and see if that just doesn't ease some of the pain. Um, well, Mary, that's funny about the directions because of the compass coaching. I am so directionally challenged that we have a rule in my relationship that if I say we have to go south, we actually go north. Like we just go north because we know I have chosen wrong. Now, I maintain that I have always made it home. So I have a 100% record of showing up. However, when you're using the directions in the compass coaching, they are merely a guideline. Like think of it as a template. The north, I'm going to go to my soul. The south, I'm going to go to physical. The west, I'm going to go to my wiring. And the east, I'm going to go to action and elevating. So you actually don't have to know which direction you're facing. I just rearranged my office last week because I was baking by the window. And I was looking at the feng shui of it all. And I had to take my compass out on my phone because even though I know the sun comes up over there and it sets over there, I was still like, I don't trust it. So think of it as a template. Your soul already knows what we're doing and what it would like to learn. And the human element of us is what carries it out. You guys are awesome for interacting. Thank you so much. I'm glad I made you laugh, Amy. Oh, there will be humor here too. Because the lighter you are, and I'm not talking about being flippant or disrespectful or irreverent. What I'm talking about is having such a joy for your life that your soul has. I believe as humans, we can embody that. And then that allows you to feel the effervescence that is life. I think that's why I like seltzer so much, is because it's got bubbles. And I feel the effervescence in life. It can be one of the little rabbits outside, or, cracking myself up. Yesterday, I said to someone, how about you support, not contort? Because she was twisting herself up in a situation. And I'm like, there is no need to contort here. You can support without contorting. And we laughed for a good, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes about that because laughter raises frequency and we are all frequency. So as much as you can appreciate the humor, find the humor, be respectful, caring, loving, that's going to help with your spiritual development, your intuitive development, because sorry, there's a cat right below my feet. They are also likely to join us at some point. Um, the more you understand about frequency and that everything has a frequency, this table has one, our lights have them, all beings have them. The more you understand that, the more you have a place to start with changing your life and creating and having choice. And yeah, sometimes that choice is that people have to exit stage left. They just do, because the frequencies may not align. And oftentimes, when you start wanting to know about yourself, grow, and expand into the beautiful reflection of your soul, uh, some people aren't going to like it. And they're going to say you changed. They're going to say they don't know who you are anymore. Take that as a compliment and say thank you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm just going to pat myself on the back right now. So, as we go through these lives, I hope that you feel free, like Amy did, to bring some questions. I will not be doing intuitive readings, but there's no way for me to turn my intuitive self off. Got my drift? So I intend to bring my effervescent self as much as possible. I mean, if I'm having a day, I'm going to let you know I'm having a day. And I sincerely hope that you join me here, that we grow this into something that helps you develop your intuition, helps you to tune into your own channels on this channel. Get it? I love puns. I love dad jokes. So you should know that from the start if you're going to hit subscribe, because you just know it from the start. And then, maybe helping you to create a starting point. Like I said with Amy, if it's too big over here, too big over there, come to the middle, and whatever that means for you. Essentially, the more we like each other, well, that's true, but the more we like ourselves, the more we will like others, the more that will ripple out. And then there can be some healing in this planet. There can be some more inclusion. There can be some more appreciation of all of the diversity that is in this world. It's just so freaking exciting. And there's always going to be knuckle draggers. There are always going to be people who don't want to grow. And that's okay. You honor their soul. And then you beat feet and exit. Absolutely taking the scenic route. And where we live, it's really easy to take the scenic route. I used to tell my kids that they think of all the things that they would not have known existed if I didn't take a wrong turn. But that's life, right? Like, we think, here's the GPS coordinate. Like Amy was saying, was that part of my plan? That's like a hard and fast GPS coordinate, and you don't follow that. Well, don't be the people that drive off the cliff because their GPS said to. My goodness. But you want to be able to vary. You want to be able to take another turn. You want to be able to adjust in motion. And the more you learn about your intuition being your first sense, and the more you apply it, the faster that is it's like on demand, So I really appreciate you guys showing up. You may have realized I'm a talker. I get excited about people learning, and I feel so blessed to be able to do this work, and then to now expand it to bring it to wherever it's going. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching this. If this is after the live, hi. Thank you for flowing around it. All of the podcasts are on the channel. You can listen to them. The last, I think it's month and a half, I've been doing video, but the rest of them are there for audio. If you want to, I know YouTube is my TV. So that's one of the reasons I decided to come here and do this rather than the other channels, because I so appreciate what it's given me in my lifetime. And I wanted to give back in some way to do that too. So welcome aboard. And if you've got any questions, feel free to send messages at vickybaird.com, Vicky at vickybaird.com, vickybaird.com. It's all pretty easy. Vicky Baird Coaching on all the platforms. It is me answering you, unless you send me one of those DMs of I can build your business in 50,000. No, that's Enrique. And um, I really appreciate him for doing that. Because does that ever work? Does anybody ever sign up for that? So thank you so much. I will leave you on a higher vibration of appreciation. I encourage you to ask yourself, what is it that I want this week? It's really good to want. What is it that you want? It's okay if the answer is, I don't know. It's a beautiful, valid answer to say, I don't know. Add right now after it. I don't know right now. So thank you. Appreciate it.